I had the bridge all pieced back together. Now I'm getting back to the neck reset, and what I've done is glued in some shims on either side of the dovetail. I'm going to test the fit in the pocket. You can see right there, you can see I got a little bit of a gap between the fingerboard and the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and do some sanding, and what I want to do is remove material from the upper portion, keeping as much of the meat on the lower portion of the shim. So I'm just going to put a pencil on either side here, try to keep as much of this lower shim as possible, and taper it, because you want to build up the lower part. That's the part that's the loosest, and the upper part stays pretty tight. So I'm just going to go ahead. I have a kind of a wedged block with some 80 grit on it, and I'm going to go ahead and sand this until I get it to fit. It fits nice and tight. You can see that's a snug fit. There's no gap between the heel and the body. So now let's check the angle, the straightness, and make sure we have all that squared away. So now I have the neck pretty much shimmed. I'll show you what I have to check it. So I have the bridge located. I just have a couple of pencil marks roughly showing me the placement of where the saddle is going to be located, and I have that clamped in place. And I strung up the high E and the low E. I don't even have, I think I have high E and maybe a B string, just to kind of get a feel for what the action is at right now. I think what's happening is I may have slightly overset this neck, meaning the action underneath the 12th fret, the high E string is about maybe 55 or 60 thousandths, and it's about the same on the low E string. It's about 55 or 60 thousandths. So what that means is the angle is coming a little bit, it's back a little bit too far actually. So one way I could compensate that, normally if you have a saddle, you could just have a nice tall saddle in there, and you can compensate it that way. But with this type of bridge, with a fixed saddle, I could shim underneath the bridge itself. I could make a shim, and that could probably compensate it, maybe 20 or 30 thousandths. But until I get the neck glued in there and see exactly where it is, I won't know, but I always have that option. So I think at this point I'm ready to glue the neck in and see where we're at. So let me do that. Before I glue in this neck, I want to add a little shim to this extension. It's going to make a little tapered shim out of this piece of veneer. While I'm waiting for the glue to dry, I thought I'd do a little bit of kind of cosmetic work on this finish. Just want to try to clean it up a little bit. You can see there's a lot of spills and just a lot of unevenness. So I'm going to take a little soapy water and a real fine steel wool. And this is just going to kind of dull down the finish, but I can buff it back. This is an old finish. It's probably lacquer and very thin, so definitely want to go pretty ginger with it. Okay, I'm just about ready to glue this neck back on the body. I'm going to use fish glue. Some people use hot hide glue doing this, but I like a little more open time, especially putting all this glue on the fingerboard extension. Need a little more time with this. You don't need a whole lot in the dovetail. The friction holds most of it together. The glue just sort of locks it in place. One clamp is all you need to lock the neck in place. And then a couple of clamps. I have a caul on the inside. It's attached to the top, on the underside of the top. And I'm just going to put a couple of clamps in the front so it glues down nicely. I'm not going to worry too much about glue squeeze out. I can wipe that up later. I'm going to let this cure overnight at least, and then I'll be back and show you the next steps. Now right here is where things start to go a little bit south. I don't know, sometimes these things happen, but I ran into a little bit of a snag. I mismeasured something when it comes to do with that fingerboard extension, but it's a bit of a head scratcher. Let me explain the situation to you. So the situation I'm running into here, put the shim underneath this fingerboard extension, and I probably could have got away with not doing it so I have the right fall away. Right now it's too flat, actually even coming up. So I have two choices. I could either remove the frets, sand down the fingerboard, reinstall the frets, or I can just cut it off here, remove this, take the shims off the back and reinstall it. And that's what I'm going to opt for. Wish me luck. See how this goes. I'm making a lot more work for myself here, but I guess I made a little mistake by oversetting the neck. I'm going to put some brass shims here. Give me some more protection. It's turning into a fiasco. There's that shim. I actually have two shims in there. One of them's still stuck down, the other one's still stuck here. I'm going to take them both off, reattach this. Hopefully that'll set us straight. Okay, let me get this all cleaned up. Okay, I got that all cleaned up. Somewhat. Got a little more to do. So putting this back in place, just want to check the straight edge now. See if I have any fall away. I should. Now I see a gap, so I'm going to go with that. That's going to be good. I'm sitting on the frets up to the 12th, up to the body joint, and then I see it falls away. It's a pretty decent amount of fall away, so shouldn't interfere the playability of this now. Hopefully I saved the day. I don't know if I wasted the day or saved the day. Time will tell. Now I've got the bridge installed in the correct position. I put two strings kind of indicating the position. And something interesting, the way I have this shimmed, because I am going to have to shim it, I've got about 70 thousandths on the, maybe 75 on the bass side, and about 65 on the treble. So height wise, it's all good. I don't think I'm going to get too much deflection on this top. So, but the shims, you can see I have two shims underneath the whole bridge, and then I had to pop two more, these 20,000 maple strips, so it's about 40 thousandths different on the base side. So it's going to be tapered, which is interesting because the original bridge, and this is the original bridge, is just flat all the way across. So I don't know if this was ever a well-playing guitar. So I'm going to make a shim that tapers from whatever that thickness is on the bass to whatever the thickness is on the treble. I still have to measure it. And that's going to be my new shim. I'm going to install that and reinstall this bridge. So I've never seen anybody do this before. I guess it's the first time for everything. I could be wrong. But I'm going to go ahead and make the shim, install it, put the bridge on, and I'll show you what the outcome is here. Stay tuned.